Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. In this week's guitar lesson, I'm going to show you how to take an acoustic or electric guitar and a pick and have a jam session all by yourself. You don't need a band or an MP3 jam track. You can just grab a guitar and start jamming like this, and it's so much fun to do, and you could play this for hours, or at least until your fingers get too sore. There's really no end to it. So I'm going to show you everything that I played in the intro, note for note. We'll break all of that down. But then I'll show you how to improvise, at least where those notes come from, so that you can take this and extend it and make it your own and have lots of fun with it. So I've got the lesson split into two parts. In this video, we're going to take a look at the first half. If you're a premium member, you have access to the part 2 video as well as an extra bonus video, which is on strumming. So I'll break down the strum technique that's used in this in more detail, pull that out and put it in a separate video. You'll also have access to the tab and the on-screen tab viewer. So if you want all of that, you want to go to ActiveMelody.com, go to the lessons page and do a search for EP193. That's the lesson number for this lesson. So let's go ahead and get started with part 1. Alright, so the structure of this song is a G minor 7, and you play that by barring all 6 strings here on the 3rd fret, and then I use my ring finger on the 5th fret, 5th string. And that's a G minor 7. It's a really nice sounding chord. So we're going to go back and forth between that chord and a D minor chord. It's a D minor with an F in the bass. So think about making a D minor. I know you know how to do that in first position. The only difference is we're going to make it with our pinky, middle finger, and index finger, so that our ring finger is free and can come here to the 3rd fret, 4th string. And that's how we're going to make that D minor. So we have the G minor 7 back and forth between that and the D minor with the F in the bass. Okay. Now I have a separate video on the strum pattern. I will go through it very briefly here, but if you want the detailed version, and as well in the tablature, I've notated all the downstrokes and all the upstrokes, so you can print that off and you can get exactly what I'm doing, where the muted strums are and everything. But anyway, here's the 30,000 foot view. Let's make that G minor 7 chord, and then we're going to play down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up, down. So the one thing to keep in mind is the right hand stays in motion like this the whole time. No matter what you're doing. Even when you play the lead stuff, it never breaks. And if it ever feels awkward at any point, like something it's almost like you're tripping when you walk, it's because you're not in rhythm. So just remember, or not in motion rather. So keep that right hand going. Okay, so down, down, up, down, muted up, down. And now we're going to switch to the D minor chord, and I'm going to do an upstroke, up, muted down, and I'm going to play up, down, and then bring my right hand up again and do down, up, release the tension, keep the fingers there, release the tension, and play a muted up, or I'm sorry, muted down, up. So let me try that again. From the start of that D minor part, it goes up, muted down, up, down, down, up, down, up. So when you put it together, it's like that. So now let's put the two pieces together. Look at the right hand, how it stays in motion. If you learn nothing else in this, if you can just go back and forth between those two chords and keep the rhythm going, you've learned a lot in terms of strumming and timing. Okay, so after the D minor, I go back to the G minor 7, and then I do this walk up, this little bass walk up. Very cool. All I'm doing is playing power chords. So when I go back to that G minor 7 chord, I play down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Those are muted. Up, down, up, down. There's 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I came up and did an upstroke with this power chord. This would be an E power chord. I'm just playing the 2nd fret, 5th string. Just playing strings 5 and 6 with an upstroke. There's a muted strum down. Now I'm going to play an F power chord. So now I've got my index finger on the 1st fret, 6th string. I use my pinky. Some people use their ring finger, but 3rd fret, 5th string. another upstroke, muted down, slide that up one, another upstroke, and then we're back in position to play the G minor chord. Pretty cool little walk up. All right, let's put it all together from the beginning. See how the right hand just never breaks that rhythm? Okay, now the second time through, it's the same, except when I get to that G minor 7, I stopped so that I could play a little lead part. This is where, if you're being a one-man band, you're kind of having to fill a lot of roles, but one of those roles is playing a drummer. It would be no different than if you were playing with a drummer. A lot of times the drums will stop at a point and let the vocalist do something, or whatever the lead is, and then the band kicks back in. That's what's happening here. Now here's the lead part. Let me show you that. It's pretty easy. It's the minor pentatonic scale, pattern 1 for the key of G. If you don't know what that is, check out the blues lead course at Active Melody. I go through all 5 patterns. But here's how to play that. I bar the first 3 strings here on the 3rd fret, and then I do a downstroke with my right hand on the 3rd string, and do a hammer-on between string 3 and fret 3 and 5 on the 3rd string. Then there's an upstroke on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. And then we go back to I keep that ring finger down on the 5th fret, 3rd string, and then I go back to it and play. So I pick it once with my right hand, do a pull off, and then a hammer on with my ring finger to the 5th fret, 4th string. So all together that part goes. They're triplets. 1, triplet, triplet. And then I come up here with, since my ring finger is already there on the 5th fret, I bar the first, or strings 2 and 3 rather, and then come down to the 3rd fret, 3rd string. So let me put it together. We have, and then down to the 5th fret, 4th string, 3rd fret, 4th string, back to the 5th fret, 4th string, back to the 3rd fret, 4th string. So, and then that final note there is the 5th fret, 5th string. And that's what the lick looks like. And then that allows me to go right back into the G minor 7. Let's back up and put everything together up to that point. Now, one other little nuance. After that's a downstroke there. I hit a sort of a muted strum to come back, just to keep the rhythm going. Right there. It's subtle, but you may want to think about doing that. Okay, so now we've established a cadence here, going back and forth between those 2 chords. At this point, instead of playing the D down here, the D minor down here, I'm going to play the same D minor. I'm just going to play it in a different voicing. So now we're back to the G minor 7, same strum pattern there. And the difference is, notice that up, down, and now I'm going to do, it's an upstroke with a muted down, and then another upstroke. Now let me show you how I'm fingering this. Think of a D minor chord you would play by barring the 5th fret. That's the chord I'm making, but I'm just playing the top 3 strings of it. So it's the 5th fret, 1st string, 6th fret, 2nd string, 7th fret, 3rd string. But I start it and move everything down a fret so that I go slide into it. Gives it kind of a cool feel, especially with that rhythm. So when you play it with the G minor 7, so just remember that down, up, muted. Down, or I'm sorry, up, down. So I had it backwards. Up, down. And then we have, that's an upstroke, muted down, reset your hand, your left hand, and do another upstroke. And then do a down, up. All right, so let me play through that slowly. Okay, now at this point, I stay with that version of the D minor instead of this one. I don't have to. So if you're improvising, you're extending this farther, you may want to go back and forth. In fact, even mix the two D minors. That would be cool. Something like that. So start to get creative with it. Also find other voicings for D minors. Or G minors for that matter. So that's where you start to really think about the guitar and think about the neck and all your options. And the better you get with it, the more you can do that on the fly. Okay, so from the beginning. Now here I have, when I go back to the G minor 7, that's my solo, that's my lead part. It's very easy, it's just the 3rd fret 4th string, and I'm going to hammer on to the 5th fret 4th string. That's a downstroke with the right hand. Now keep in mind that right hand stays in rhythm, even when we're playing the lead parts. Look at that, never breaks. That may be a little bit of a challenge because you're going to be doing some muting, obviously, so that not everything rings out. But that's what I'm doing. It's the 3rd fret to the 5th fret on the 4th string, hammer on. Then I do the 3rd fret to the 5th fret on the 3rd string. And where are those notes? Well, they're just in the minor pentatonic scale. There they are. So that should tell you that you can play any of the notes in the minor pentatonic scale, whether that be pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, any of those patterns, and it'll work. Just try not to break the rhythm. So you can start to really get creative and improvise. That's what I mean when I say jam session. It's not just memorizing everything that I'm showing you, although that's a good way to kind of get started, but it's breaking out of that and starting to really explore the neck. All right, let me back up and play us through that first lead. There it is. And here's the second one we're going to learn. Isn't that cool? That comes from, I think of Cold Shot by Stevie Ray. That lick makes me think of that, but really easy to play. All I'm doing is barring the first 3 strings here on the 5th fret. And I'm playing strings 1, 2, 3, and it's an upstroke with the right hand. And then I play the first 3 strings on the 3rd fret. All right, so let me put it in context. So there it is. It's upstroke, muted down, upstroke, and then there's a down up, which is muted, and then I'm going to play. That's a 3rd fret hammered on to the 5th fret on the 4th string, and another down up that's muted. So it's, that's what it looks like. Great lick to use, and remember that if you're ever playing any blues. So if you're playing in a different key, just remember where that is in reference to, however you think of it. I think of it as the root. The root bar. In this case, it would be the 3rd fret if you're playing in the key of G. All right, so let's back it up. Here's that first lick. Here's the second one. Now here's the 3rd one coming up. Notice that right hand never breaks. Now I'm just hitting that on the upstrokes. Up, 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 up. And all I'm doing is barring the first 2 strings. I'm starting on the 6th fret, going to the 5th fret, going to the 3rd fret, back to the 5th fret. And where I'm at mentally is pattern 1 of the minor pentatonic scale. These are already in there, right? And then I just worked in that 5th fret as well. So that's getting into another whole thing. It's where you mix the major and the minor pentatonic scale. But just know that when you're playing a blues and you're wanting to double up your string, get that real fat sound, you can trace, and that's all I do in my mind. I just trace pattern 1, the first 2 strings, and then pattern 2 even. So you have that as well. So it gives you some options. But that's what I'm doing, and I'm using my ring finger and playing doing upstroke, and then a mute followed by a muted downstroke, and then right back into that groove. Just think of some variations on that if you wanted to. Alright, so I think I'm going to end this lesson here. That gives you a lot of information and kind of gets you going. I think you can improvise from here if you want to. But if you'd like to continue watching this and watch the part 2 video that has the other part and then the walk down back to the G part, tablature and all of that, you can get that again at activemelody.com. Just look for EP193. Let me go ahead and back up, and I'll play through everything that we've learned in this video slowly, so you have this as one final reference, and then I'll see you in part 2. Here we go. And that's where we end it, right? Okay, we'll see you in part 2.